Is it counting down? Okay. Oh, I see people. There's Julie. Hey, Cindy. I see people filing in. The AC's on. Yeah. Do we want to turn the AC off?
Yes. Melanie, can you turn the AC off, please?
She's on the phone.
Yes. I got it all off.
Hello. Thank you for joining us. I'm so glad that you're here. I see some people filing in. I see Julie and I see Cindy. Hey, Polly. Good to see everybody. Gosh, we've got folks from Maine and Ohio. I think Julie's in Canada. So it's always nice to see our friends from across the world join us. So if you're here, just say hello and tell us where you're watching from. It's fun to see everybody kind of file in. I hope that you're enjoying these Clubhouse meetings. I know that we've got a lot of folks from all over who join us who would love to come in and meet with our Long Arm Guild in-house. So this is a good way for those who aren't close to us. We're in Louisville, Kentucky, by the way, getting ready for the Kentucky Derby here in the city. So if you're not close to us, this is a great way for you to join the community and kind of learn more about machine quilting, whether you have a sit-down machine or a stand-up machine. It's a great way to kind of build a community. So I'm glad to see everybody. Hey, Diana. Hey, Faye. Anna, Regina, and Becky, Texas, Kentucky, Michigan. Oh, there's quite a few there. I see a few from Texas. Hey, Shirley. Shirley's Kentucky. I see Ellen from Florida and Debbie from South Carolina. So good to see everybody. I'm actually headed to North Carolina tomorrow to teach at the North Carolina Quilt Symposium. So if any of you are going to join me there, be sure to stop by and say hello. I'd love to see you. So we have a lot of stuff planned for today's meeting, our Clubhouse meeting, and I know you're going to enjoy it. One thing I did want to tell you is be sure that you sign up for our newsletter. We send that out, and it has a lot of great information in it. It has some fun links. We put in the last newsletter a link to a really great story about a man who met his wife through quilting. A little love story that was super sweet. So we have some fun little links in the newsletter, but we also have information about upcoming events or tutorials or other things that can help you in your machine quilting journey. So you can see that, that link there on the screen. So you can just type that in and you will find it's also in the description. You will find out how to sign up for our newsletter. And then we also, warn you, we remind you to watch our Clubhouse meeting through the newsletter as well. So today's meeting, we are going to talk about the square in a square block. And I've got it here on the machine just so that you can see, so everybody understands. Some people call it a diamond in a square. I call it a square in a square. And we're going to play with different ways that you can quilt the square in a square block. And I've got a download available for you, excuse me, on our website. Pardon me. And you can download that and you can play with a pen and paper and play with some of the designs that we're going to talk about today. So be sure to look at that. It's available for 1 month as a free product. So you just put that downloadable in your cart on my website and check out. It's 100% off. And then you'll be able to print it out on your printer. And so that is a free product for 1 month. Our other month's downloadables are there as well for a small fee. But for the next month, this one will be free to you for watching the Clubhouse. So we're going to draw a little bit on that sheet. And so I have it here on the computer. And I have it zoomed in a little bit so that you can see it a little bit better. And so this is that square in a square block that some people call a diamond in a square. And we're going to look at different ways to quilt it. And one of the things that I definitely would do on something like this, and I'm going to just change my color, is I would get out a pen and I would just, your favorite marking device, and I'm going to put just little dash lines here. I just need some way to give myself some targets so that I know where, where my crosshairs, where my north, south, east, and west are located, so I can kind of stay in quadrants. So the first thing I'm going to do is super simple for those of you who are just getting started, and I'm going to do just a lowercase e. So I'm going to start over here in this corner, and I'm just going to do a lowercase e up to the top, and then another lowercase e. And then now you got to be able to do it upside down, right? Because our friends who have the sit-down machines, they could turn their quilt, but if you've got a stand-up machine, you got to be able to do this right side up, upside down, north, south, east, and west. And of course, I'm drawing on my computer, so I certainly can quilt better than I can draw. Now I want to deal with the inside of this square and a square, and I have it charted off here, so I'm just going to stick with that lowercase e up to the corner, lowercase e up to the corner, lowercase e. And so by marking that off, it kind of keeps all of my e's in their proper quadrants. So that's one way. Let's do this next one. And again, I'm just going to I would get out my marker, fabric marker, whatever device I like to use, and chalk myself out. And so let's play a little bit more with this whole lowercase e. This time I'm going to throw a lowercase l in there as well, and again I'm going to stick inside the quadrant. I'm going to do the center this time first, so I'm going to do a lowercase e, lowercase l, lowercase e, and up into the corner, and again e, and a lowercase l, and a lowercase e, into the corner, and I'm just traveling around, but I'm going to stay in those little triangle quadrant spaces that I chalked out, and that will help me keep everything even. And the other thing I would say is, remember, you are not a computer, so this little guy here, he looks a little quirky, but I wouldn't necessarily go pick that out. By the time I do this multiple times over the quilt, I'm probably the only one who's going to notice it. So just be kind to yourself. You're not a computer. This actually has a human touch to it, and it's okay that it has some little wonky bits. That's perfectly fine. So I ended where I started, and now I'm going to deal with those setting triangles around my square and a square. And all I'm going to do is just a curl in, almost like a question mark. So I'm going to tuck my tail way in, and then I'm going to come back out, and I want to fill into the corner of my block. And then I'm just going to travel kind of around, echoing, and then head back out. So let's do that again. So it's almost like a question mark curl, tuck way in, come back out up to the corner, echo around, and then head back out. Next one, I'm going to curl way in. So sometimes people will call that an arrowhead, I've heard it, or a dunce cap, whatever works for you. And I'm going to curl way in, I'm going to come back out to a point, I'm going to echo back, and then I'm going to do a little S-curve out. So that is one way to kind of use those E's and L's and dress it up just a little bit more. Let's look at a different one now. I'm going to do this one, and for this one, I would also need, it's going to be a good idea, let me get that purple out again, to chalk this out. And if you're asking to yourself how I'm drawing on the screen, I'm just using a tablet, so it turns your mouse is like a pin shape, and I draw on a pad, and this is just a free app. This one's called Paintbrush. There's loads out there. This is just the one that I use. I'm a Mac girl, so I have it on my Mac, but it allows me to kind of doodle and play on shapes. Okay, so I've got it here, and I'm just going to start in this corner, and I'm going to do a curve to the center. I'm going to go through the center and out here to my east coast. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to head to the South Pole, and I'm really going to swoop out to make a nice fat curve. And you could use a ruler for this, but you're definitely going to want it marked. Okay, so now I'm ended where I started, and I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to fill in. So I'm just going to go echo with a little dip in here, and all I'm doing is I'm kind of camouflaging any small imperfections in the way that I quilted it. So sometimes if you make a mistake, if you just add more lines, it kind of confuses the eye a little bit, and it camouflages those mistakes. So I just added a little echo. That would also help if this was a large square and a square to kind of eat up some of that space. So I ended where I started, and now I'm going to deal with those setting triangles. And for this, I'm just going to come to the center, like a little bunny hop. I'm going to go up to the corner. I'm going to come back down to the center point, and I'm going to bunny hop out. So a bunny hop up to the center point, and a bunny hop out. And then I'll just continue that around. And I could see where a center line marked here would help me know where my bunny should stop hopping. When he hops to the middle, if I had a center line drawn, I could better see where my bunny should stop. All right, so now let's look at this last one. And this last one I want to do in a little bit more of a modern feel in case you want to go a little more linear. So I'm going to start here again. And, we're not talking about continuity or trying to do this, a number of these strung together. If we had a number of these strung together, I would kind of attack them slightly differently. I'd probably do the top half all the way across and then come back and do the bottom half all the way across. We're doing these individually, just so that you know. It's going to be helpful, again, to get myself some kind of center meridian line down. And then it's going to be helpful too, it depends on how fussy I want to be about it. Normally I'll take my fingers, my actual fingers, rather than grab a ruler and just give myself a little mark. So I'll put a couple fingers down. So I have some registration lines here, but I could also use the marks on my ruler, or I could just go with it on the fly. So I'm going to do a straight line here. Let me change to my straight line because it's hard for me to draw on the computer a true straight line. So I would go up to here, over to here. I would come back, and I'm going to do the bottom half, here to here, and back. And now I can go around the outside, but actually what I want to do is fill in that center. Again, it kind of depends on how big the square in a square is, but I'm just going to put little wishbone-y things in here, like little figure eights. These are nice because they stretch and they grow pretty easy. Little infinity signs, little wishbone-y things. And they're fun, pretty easy. So I got to here, and now I'm ready to do that whole outside setting triangle. And so again, I'm just going to do kind of straight lines here. You could also make the argument, rather than straight lines, let's just try something here. I wouldn't mix these. Whatever I do on these outside triangles, I keep them consistent. But if you didn't want to do straight, you could also do swoopies. So just a gentle curve. Of course, that curve isn't the prettiest. Let me try it again. So that would be an option. And then I'm just going to repeat it one more time. So I'm going to go back to straight line to there and just travel around. And that'll give you kind of a more modern look to, and let's go back and do this last one, swoopy. Again, I wouldn't mix these, but I just want you to see a double swoopy. And so let me try it again. That swoopy was a little too swoopy. There you go. Okay, so those were some ideas for your big square in a squares. Let's go down here to our little guys. Because sometimes you have these, especially in really nice borders, but they're small. So a really simple, easy way would be right side up, upside down, lowercase e's. So I could do a lowercase e, and then an uppercase e. It's not uppercase, is it? It's like north-south, back and forth, forth and back. Let's look at a different idea for this next one. For this next one, I just want to do a stacked curl. So I come in, I do a stacked curl, and then this curl would go the other way. So I got curls going opposite ways, and I'd end to here. And then let's deal with these outside corners for this one. So for this one, I'm just going to do a bunny hop and a curl. I want to keep it pretty simple because it's a small space. And a bunny hop, excuse me. It is spring in Kentucky, and I can tell. Bunny hop, curl, bunny hop, curl, and a bunny hop. All right, let's deal with this last one in a slightly different way. So for this last one, I think what I want to do is just swirl in. So I'm going to swirl, and I'm going to swirl way in, but I need to leave myself an exit to get out. And now I'm just going to do lowercase e's in these setting triangles. So you're going to have to judge density, right? Because some of these square and squares are big guys and some are little guys. So it just depends on how dense it is that you want to quilt. Okay, so let's take a look at stitching some of these out. I've got a square and a square sample here on the frame. And I'm using the my APQS Freddy to stitch this. I do have my ruler foot on. You could put an open-toed hopping foot on if you want to see just a little bit better. And I would normally have a pin that I can, let me just grab that red pin if you would. And I'm gonna use a ballpoint pin here on my fabric. I don't recommend this, but I need something to I didn't grab a fabric marker before we started. So there you go. All right, so let's do that lowercase e that we did initially. So I'm just going to go in. And then the outside. And then I'm just going to continue on around. So there was that first block that we did. So I'm just going to head around the top here so we can drop in and do the next one. So the next one that we did, I'm going to drop in this way. And again, I'm going to get out my ballpoint pen. Do not do this at home to mark, give myself some quadrants here. Use your fabric marker, not a ballpoint pen, but you'll get the idea. So now I'm going to do my E's and my L's. E, L, E to the corner. E, L, E to the corner, E, L, E to the corner, E, L, E to the corner. Now I can work on my outside part. So this is that arrowhead that we were doing before. So I do my question mark, I do a little top hat, echo around, and swirl out. So I'm going to do it again, little question mark, put a little top hat on him, echo around and come down. Swirl, top hat, echo around and out. Swirl, little top hat, echo around and out. All right, so there is that block that we did. All right, so I'm going to just break my threads because I'm going to move down to this next one. And in real life, I would do some tacking stitches there.
Wade says more shots of the host.
That's sweet. Hi, Wade. All right, so let's do this one. Again, I'm going to use my ballpoint pen. Please don't say yes. Angela said to use ballpoint pens to mark your quilts. You know this is totally not right, yeah? But at least I can see it while we're working here. So I'm going to bring that bobbin thread up to the top, and we're going to work on the center. So I'm just going to do a swoop in and through, and down to the south, and up to the north, and back out again, and then I'm just going to echo that space. And again, I'm just trying to kind of give the eye lots to look at so that the eye can't pick out all of my problems if I have any problems. And now let's do the outside part. So I'm going to bunny hop in, go up, come down, bunny hop to the top, bunny hop, up to the top, come down, bunny hop out, and keep going all the way around. And as I said, I would probably recommend that you mark where your center line is there, just to make it a little bit easier. Okay, so I'm going to break my threads, then we can look at what that block looks like all stitched out. So there's that one. Now let's go over to this last one. And this one, I don't have a ruler. Well, I don't have a ruler base on, but I do have a ruler. So let me just grab a ruler here. Go up, and then I'm going to go down to here. So I'm breaking all kinds of rules, right? You need a ruler base on your machine, and you need to not use ballpoint pens on your fabric. But for what we're doing here today, this is fine. All right, I'm going to do it again.
Teresa wants to know, what thread weight do you use more often than not
When quilting?
Restate the question.
Yeah, so Teresa's asking what thread weight I like to use. So Teresa, it really depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing something that has a lot of backtracking and a lot of thread buildup, I'm going to choose something super skinny, something that's like a 60 weight, maybe even a 100 weight. For regular everyday quilting, I'm probably going to go with a 40 weight, just for everyday stuff. So if it's something that I may not feel super confident about, then I'm going to go super skinny because it'll just kind of melt into the fabric. But if I want it to really talk and be bold, then I'll choose a thicker thread. All right, so I put those little wishbone-y things in the middle there. And then now let's just do some of those, we did straight lines when we were working before on paper, so I'm just gonna do that kind of arch, kind of mix it up. And you could use a ruler for this. I'm just doing it freehand because I'm breaking all kinds of rules today. And I really do hope that the only rule I don't want you to break is about the ruler base. I want you to use a ruler base when you use your machine. That one don't break, but, and don't use ballpoint pens on your fabric. Don't do that either, but, but the other rules in quilting I encourage you to break because many times you learn better by kind of forging your own ground. All right, let's deal with these little guys down here. And so the first one that we done down here was just our little E's. So I did an E facing to the south, an E facing to the north. And then the next one that we did, let's see, I did a stacked curl. So I did a curl in one way and then a curl going the opposite way that carried me over to the corner. And then for this one, I did those bunny hops with a curl, and then a bunny hop, and a curl, and a bunny hop. And then I'm going to finish it off with the rest of them. So a bunny hop and a curl, and a bunny hop, and a bunny hop, and a curl, and a bunny hop. All right, and the final one that we did a swirl in, and we swirled way in, but we left ourselves room to get out. And we came out to the corner. And then we just followed it with just those lowercase e's. So there you go. So hopefully that was helpful to see some different ideas to do a square and a square block. It's a common shape that you will find in a lot of different quilt patterns. And it's nice to have in your arsenal a few different ways that you can quilt it. And download that worksheet so that you can play at home and you can come up with other designs and draw on those sheets and get other ways to quilt square and square blocks. So I would like to thank our sponsor, APQS. APQS is 100% handcrafted in Iowa, and they are loved the world over. And they come with a lifetime warranty. So quilt forever, right? Thank you to APQS for sponsoring. All right, I am going to switch over and talk to Pam Durbin. So Pam was, let me flip over here before we see if I know what I'm doing. So Pam is in Kentucky. Hi, Pam. Hey, thank you so much for joining us and letting us be nosy in your studio. I really appreciate it. I see so many things behind you I already want to talk about. I love your Laura Heine pink pump there you got hanging behind you. That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, and you even have thread organized there on your wall. Okay, so turn the camera around, Pam, because we want to see your space. I want to see. You have so much space.
I have a lot of space. This was my son's bedroom and my youngest son's bedroom. And when he moved to college, I converted it into my sewing room. And then a few months ago, my handy husband knocked out that wall.
Wow.
And allowed me to have 2 rooms for sewing, which
you girl. Look at that. Okay, so you've got a dedicated long arm room. All right, so turn us around so we can see. Okay, and then he punched through that wall, and then you have a piecing room. Look at that piecing table. Oh my goodness, Pam, lucky girl. Okay, yeah. So first of all, I want to admire your quilt, your fabric that you have beautifully folded up on the wall. I'm sure it looks like that all the time, right?
You know, I'm a neat freak, so yeah, it does.
Are you really? Well, good for you.
Yeah, those are around comic book boards.
Oh, got it.
Got it. Yeah, and I love you've got your ribbons there, and right below your jelly rolls. Lovely. And is that your? That's lovely. And is that your main machine that you piece with?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So let's see. So take us to kind of were those built-ins? Those built-ins were something you added, right, for the sewing room?
No, these built-ins were in this room
Wow.
when my son lived here.
Wow. So you've got a computer space. Is that an embroidery machine there next to your computer?
That is.
Lovely. So you can have that going and not be too far away from it while it's stitching out.
Yep. That is
All right.
true.
Let's see that giant piecing table that you had there.
This is actually 2 tables put together.
Uh-huh.
The Martha Stewart collection from Office
something.
Yeah. Something.
Okay. And you've got
Home Depot, yeah.
A nice cushy mat to stand on.
That's actually my dog bed.
Oh, well, that works too. That works too. And you got your pressing station over there. All right. And so let's see those threads you had on the wall again. You had a thread. So did you pick that up? Oh, that one. Yeah. And then you had a second one too. There's all your cotton threads.
Yeah. That's one from Etsy. This is one that a friend gave me.
Uh-huh.
I think a store was going out of business and she picked it up there. She doesn't sew, so she gave it to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the colors.
Yeah. Okay. And so take us into the other room there. There's your pink pump. And so in here is just your machine?
It is just my machine and my design wall.
Mm-hmm.
Got a quilt up on it now.
Beautiful.
Thank you. And I've also got a nice set of closets that my husband just converted into storage because I'm going to be, I am at this point taking in customer quilts. So I wanted to make sure I got organized for that.
Yeah. And then, okay, there's your bobbin winder and the threads that you use to sew with. So someone had just asked me what weight I like to quilt with. What weight do you like to quilt with, Pam?
Well, I think that most of mine, I'm just going to take a quick look at it right now. I use Superior threads, and I think most of these are 40 for the top, and then I use bottom line for the bottom.
Perfect.
I think that is 60 weight. It is.
It is. Yeah. Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. So Pam, can you turn around so we can see your lovely face? Yeah. Pressure's on, right? Oh, and I missed the One Black Wonder there behind you. That's gorgeous.
Oh,
so and One Black Wonder.
Angela, that is the one that I think you encouraged me to do custom. I moved from the back of the machine when I rented it from you to the front. And so that's my first custom, and you helped me with that.
Good. You know, sometimes you just got to jump off that cliff, don't you? It can be scary, but.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Pam. So last thing I want to ask you is give me 3 things you would recommend to your bestie. They don't have to be quilty things, but what 3 things would you recommend that we kind of check out that may have impacted your life in a positive way?
I love reading any book that Elin Hilderbrand writes. She writes about Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard and their mysteries, and they're a lot of fun. I also recommend for bobbin tension, the Toa bobbin tension guide. Age that has really helped me. Make sure that my tension is usually on target. And I highly recommend the Outer Banks. The beaches up there are absolutely gorgeous.
Fabulous. I have not been to the Outer Banks, but it is on my bucket list. So thank you, Pam. Thank you so much for letting us be nosy. You have a beautiful space. You are a very lucky girl.
There's been getting lots of comments saying how much everybody loves your space.
So there's lots of comments on how much everybody loves your space. So you'll have to go check it out and see what everybody's saying because they're all loving it. They're all going to want to be adopted, Pam. All right. Well, thank you. I'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right. So if you
would allow us to be a looky-loo in your studio and kind of take a tour of what you got going on, we would love that. You can go into the clubhouse and send us a message. And it's just a video chat where you would give us a little tour. It doesn't have to be super neat and clean either. Pam certainly has a very neat and tidy space. I know mine is not neat and tidy, so don't think that it has to be. But we just would like to see, the space you're working in. It's always fun. So you can send us an email through our website, or you can contact us through Facebook. Either way, if you would agree to let us be a looky-loo and talk to you during the clubhouse meeting. All right, let's talk about some of my favorite things. I just got in a new ruler. I'm going to turn the light off on this Freddie so that you can see it a little bit better. So this is a new ruler that just came out from Beth Ann Nimish, and it's in her Lotus Lines group. Let me turn over so I can read it correctly. So it's her Lotus Lines, and it has a couple of interesting things, a couple of interesting entrapments for your hopping foot. So there's one there, and here's one here. And so it's meant to help guide you around applique. Now again, I would put on a ruler base to give me a little more support for the ruler around my applique. But this kind of entrapment around the hopping foot will give you just a little bit more control. And then she's got a variety of curves to help you in a small straight line, to help you go around many of the different types of curves that you find around applique. So that one is brand new. That one's a fabulous one. That's her Lotus Lines. She also has some straight line rulers. So this one is Lavender Lines too. So it has a convex. Did I say that right? Yeah, now I'm getting in geometry right. So it has an inner curve, it has a straight line, and it has little teeth on the edge. So this would be used, you put the little teeth right at the seam line, and that will force your needle to be right in the actual ditch of your seam. So that's a really great ruler too. It's got a right angle on this side, and then it has a small arc on this side, and it has a friend, and that is let me turn over so it's right side up. That's Lavender Lines 1. And it has the convex, I think it is convex curve here. And again, it has those little teeth there that you can line up in the seams. It'll force your needle into the seam line itself, into the ditch. It has a half of a circle on this side, and then it has a more shallow arc on this side. So each side's doing some hard work. This one is her Garden Lines, and it's for straight line stitching. Again, it has the teeth to help you to kind of line up in those seam lines so that your needle is forced into the ditch. It also has 60 degree, 45 degree, 30 degree lines, and even 1/8 inch denotations here if you were doing very small line work. And then she has two pretty radical ones for the market. These are brand new as far as thought process for the industry. Lily Lines too, leave it to Beth Ann to really stretch us and grow and give us stuff that hasn't been out there before. So this is a French curve, but in ruler form. And so I can do intricate curve line designs and blocks of a variety of shapes. This is Lily Lines 2, and then she has Lily Lines 1. So that would be for some custom work in a border or in a block. So lovely stuff. That's all from Beth Ann Nimish at White Arbor Quilting. So those are my favorite things for this month. So hopefully you have some fun rulers that you've been working with. Again, I want you to use a ruler base anytime that you are using rulers on a stand-up machine. If you're using rulers on a sit-down machine, you just want to use a ruler foot that's made for your particular machine you're using so that it can bump up against the rulers and not hop over the rulers. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show you is a quilt that was submitted for me to do some design work on. So I chose Joan. Joan, I chose your quilt. This is lovely. I don't know what the pattern is. I'm calling it Broken Spider Webs, but I'm sure it has a more traditional name, but we're just going to go with that. So this is Joan's beautiful quilt. I just really love this. There's so much strong geometric lines that are happening here. And so the first thing that I did when I saw this is I wanted to kind of take advantage of those strong linear lines. So I'm just going to switch over here to show you what I did first. So here is what I came up with. So by using that magic rule of 3, where I can travel across the quilt if I use an odd number of passes, I can move across in between my bars across this quilt. So I'm going to go back to the original because I just want to show you how to do that. So I'm going to turn on my lines, And I'm going to start here. I would start off the edge, but it's going to make more sense to you if I start here, and I'm going to zoom in so that you can see it just a little bit better. All right, so, okay, so this is what I would do. So I would start here, and I would go up. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. All right, we're going to, as we travel, we're going to deal with these areas, but I just want to get this idea down first. So as I start to design a quilt, I'm not necessarily trying to figure out how I'm going to combine everything or travel definitively. I'm just trying to get the structure of the shapes that look good to me. And again, I would come back this way with the same idea and do again this magic rule of 3. So this odd number will move me forward and not return me back to where I started. And these same guys I would treat the same way. So there's 1, 2, 3. Travel around. I'm going to do stuff here, but just so we can all be understanding what's going on. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's take a look at what that looks like. So that's what it's going to look like. Nice, strong lattice structure, right? Really makes those triangle chevrons kind of pop. So once I kind of know that's what I'm going to do in the chevron, now I'm going to start to deal with the other areas, this negative white space here. And so what I thought was this would be a good place for some, to me it almost looks like flower blooms. So I wanted to kind of put some flower bloomy things in here. So what I thought was if I can do, let me zoom in, that'd probably be helpful. Zoom in, and I'm going to scroll down. All right, so I came in here, and then I'm going to travel to this side, and I'm going to really swing out. Okay, so that's where I got, and then I would return here, and I thought, you know, that's a nice look. That kind of flower bloomy thing looks good. So let's look at that. So there it is. Let me zoom in so you can see that. So that's where my brain went next, was I could use that negative space and put little petals in there. But then I thought, you know, it really needs a little bit more in there, a little bit more. It's not dense enough, I think. I don't know exactly how big these blocks are, but I thought it really kind of needs more density in it. So when I get to the center, just before I leave to finish this blossom, if I just do it again, so if I just echo again, and I'm using a different color blue, and I think I'm using a size 2 stroke here on my computer, whereas the other one was a size 1, and then I can leave. Okay, so that's the path. Let's go back and let's take a look at it here, because I just want to show you what I did. So again, I would make my outer petals of my blossom first, and I probably would grab a ruler. Now here is where I could leave if I wanted to. Instead of leaving, I'm going to put an interior blossom, an interior petal, and travel right back around to give myself an echo, and then I'm going to leave. So that's the path. Notice that to make this, I have a multitude of entry points I could choose from. So let me go to a different color. I could choose to enter here, 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 here. So there's a variety of places where I can dip into this negative space to create that look. Now, if I wanted to dress this up even more, okay, so first of all, let's go and see what that looks like. So there, I think it's on 3. Okay, so there's my doubles. Let me zoom in so you can see that a little bit better. So there's my doubles. Now, if I went back, I'm going to just pan around here so you can see it a little bit better. So there's all my little doubles. I could also go in and fill that space with some kind of, if I wanted to, some kind of filler design. Let me go to a smaller, let me go to a 1 stroke here. So I could fill this space in, maybe with like just a micro stipple or any kind of favorite filler, and that would push this petal back and really give some nice definition to this flower. And then I'd be ready to leave. So let's see how we do that. Let's go back.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
So Andrea on Facebook was asking about switching back and forth between ruler work,
Uh-huh.
computerized work, and free motion work, and whether or not you take the ruler base out.
So do you take the ruler base out when you're flipping between computerized work and ruler work? No, I would leave it on because,
Ruler work and free motion.
yeah, and ruler work and free motion, I'd still leave it on. Just because it just, as you go back and forth, you don't want to have to stop down each time. Part of that is just your brain too, right? You don't want to have to stop down and think about stuff. Okay, so I'm going to change to a different color so you can see our path. So I could drop in and I could do that initial petal design that we talked about before. You saw this before. I just want you to see the path I would take. Before I complete it, that's where I would do the second echoey petal. And then before I leave that, I would go in and put my filler design in here, whatever that is. I'm just using kind of a scribbly micro stipple, and then I would leave. Okay, so let's take a look at what that looks like. So there's my 3. Let's go 4. Joan, I hope you like this. Okay, so there it is with the little scribble micro stipples. I'm going to zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. So there it is with our petals and the echo petals and then the filler. And it kind of depends on the size of this as far as whether I would want to do that filler design. Okay, so once I got there in my thought process, now I'm going to deal with our fractured spider web blocks here. And so what I thought I would do is just, I'm going to bring this up to a little thicker line, is I would just do a curl in that first, segment going one way, a curl in the next segment going the other way, and a curl in the last segment going that way. And look what it does. It exits me right here. I'm going to turn to red so you can see it exits me right there. So now I have the opportunity to drop into that space and actually do that petal we've been talking about this whole time. So let me just go down to make it a little smaller because it's a little hard to see. So there's a curl, a curl, a curl. Now we haven't talked about this space here yet, but it would drop me in to be able to deal with that. And then I can just follow that spine back down. I could do my lines and I could curl, 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 and I have the opportunity here to do my petals, and then I could follow that spine back down, and I could travel around and drop in to do my next one. Okay, so let's take a look at what that looks like. So that one is, I believe, on 5, yep. So I'm going to zoom in so you can see that a little bit. So there's those curls. Might be better to see it on a yellowy one, yellowy orange one. So there's those curls where there's a curl on each kind of level of the spider web, and then it touches that midpoint, and that would allow me to drop in and deal with anything in that negative space that I need to deal with. So the only thing we haven't talked about is this area right here. And in this area right here, I thought it would be way cool, as we got all these kind of straight lines, to put in, get out a circle ruler and put in circles in that space. Now, I'm doing it in red here. I would probably just use the same color. But so combining those straight chevron-y things with the circle there, I think that would look really awesome. So let's see what that looks like in our final version. So there you go, Joan. I just want to, let's take a look at this, and I just want to talk about the path. Now that I've kind of gotten all the elements kind of squared away in my head, so that's kind of where I'm headed. Let's talk about the path that I would actually take to create this. So I'm going to go back to your original photo. Let's just go down here where there's a little less drawing. Well, okay, we'll do it here. We'll do it right here. All right, so as far as the actual path that I would take, I would come in, I would enter the edge of the quilt. Let me turn over here. I would enter the edge of the quilt, and I would come, let's see, it really wouldn't matter too much. So, oh, it's a circle. Hold on, let me get a straight line. Straight line, and let me bring the stroke up. There we go. All right, so I would come in, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go down just so you can see a little bit better. Curl, 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 Now this one is in the corner, so I would want to go I'd be traveling on the outside, but I'm going to do my little petal shapes up here. Then I'm going to travel back down. Once I deal with that negative space, I would travel back down the spine. I probably wouldn't do the straight lines here because I don't have enough room in my bars, so I'd probably wait on that until I roll the quilt forward or back. So I'm just going to skip to this next fractured spider web. Here's my entry point where I could drop in with a circle ruler, put a circle, travel back down, curl, curl, curl. This is where I have the opportunity, if I have the space between my bars. I may not right now, so I may skip this and come back to do those double blossoms in a minute when I can roll the quilt backwards or forward, depending on how much space I have between my bars. Travel back down my spine, and now I can move forward. So what I'm going to be doing basically is I'm going to be doing like, 1/2 of this at a time. So now I'm over here into my yellow and orange one, and I would start this whole thing again. So I curl, 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 take the opportunity here if I have the space to do that double blossom. If not, travel back down. I would skip this because I know I don't have enough space to go all the way up there. Curl, curl, curl. If I have the opportunity to put a circle here, if I have the room, I would do it now. If I don't, I could catch it on the top side. I could come back down. I'm going to skip that. I'll catch it on my next, when I adjust the quilt. Curl. I could do the double blossoms here if I want, or I could wait until I adjust it. So that's how I would travel, and then I would come back on this lower half. So I would be doing it basically in half rows as I travel to left to right and then right to left on that quilt top. So there you go, Joan. I hope you like it. If you would like for me to take a look at one of your quilts to design them, you can submit them for consideration in our Quilted Joy Clubhouse there on Facebook, and I'll pick one of them. You never know who I'm going to pick, and kind of break down how I would quilt it if it were my quilt, and hopefully that helps you kind of see the thought process that happens as you break down a quilt. You may not find the path at first, you may just find the elements and then start to plug them together to figure out how to take the path that you want to take. So I hope you found that helpful. So next month, we will meet again on Wednesday, June the 5th at 1 o'clock Eastern, and we are going to be talking about quilting in tiny spaces. So what quilting designs could you put in very, very small sashing spaces and very, very small borders? So be sure to join us for that, and I would love for you to check us out on Instagram and Facebook. Be sure to subscribe if you're on YouTube to this channel so that you're notified every time we post something new, and don't forget to sign up for our newsletter so you're notified when we do this again. So thank you so much for joining me in the Clubhouse, and I will see you on Facebook. Thanks so much.